firm believer that they can bring back all of Sans and Dragon Ball, the entire series, and basically just make it a new cool arc where the Saiyans are kind of reforming. And the reason that I think this is because the Saiyans are very, very dumb. And a lot of people might be like, well, what do you mean? Like, the Saiyans are great at combat. You know, they're the supposedly the greatest warriors in the universe. And that is true. But the second that someone is stronger than them, they bow down to them. They don't try to look how to get stronger, how to become that person, how to do anything. They just go, oh, makes sense to us. And they also constantly raid planets with zero clue if the planet is good or not. A great example of this is when Raditz, Goku's brother, first appears on Earth, right? To basically talk to Goku. He first appears on Earth, and one of the first things he does is, well, this planet is going to be great to just obliterate and sell. What do you mean? You're not going to look into their technology. You're not going to look into their magic. You're not going to look into anything. You're just getting rid of it. And from what we learned very quickly on in the series is this is every single time they send a sand to a new planet, they don't learn anything. They don't grab their knowledge, they don't grab their books, they don't grab their technology, they don't grab nothing. Because ever since basically the beginning, they've been so reliant on the vendors in space that they're like, oh, we don't need that stuff. And it's one of the big reasons that you actually learn very, very quickly that the Saiyans were oppressed by Frieza, because instead of going out of their way to actually learn how to, I don't know, beat Frieza, they just conquer a planet and they're like, oh, it sold for 3 shillings, yippee! And then you also learn how dumb they are because in the first arc, it is probably one of the best examples of how primitive they are, right? Where even though they have this high tech gear and technology, they have really no clue how it works outside of the basic controls. And on top of that, there's 4 Saiyans left. Sorry if you haven't watched Dragon Ball; it's been out for years, or Dragon Ball Z. So there's 4 Saiyans left in existence, and they're still raiding planets and selling them. Out of everything they could be doing, they're still raiding planets and selling planets instead of, I don't know, trying to rebuild their civilization. Crazy idea, I know. Uh, and I get it, like maybe Vegeta wouldn't want to, right? Because Vegeta at that time, I think, is like maybe like early 20s, like late teens. They don't really say in the show, which makes sense. But Raditz, who's supposed to be older than him, or Nappa, like it just doesn't make sense. And Raditz is just a dumb fighter in general. I'm just gonna be 100% honest. He tries to nonstop flex on people because he's slightly stronger than them, but he's actually a extremely low class warrior in the sand race. Uh, like he's slightly above what they thought Goku was going to be, or Kakarot. And then you get into the intelligent Saiyans, right? Remember, this is all about why they could resurrect the Saiyans. So that you have the super dumb ones that are extremely primitive and basically are only living this existence because it's the only thing they know and it's the only thing they've ever been taught. So they're just like, oh yeah, well, this is me now. So that's your first stage. And then you have stage two, which is your intelligent high class Saiyans, like Nappa. Nappa is a great example. When they arrive on Earth, Nappa not only does he listen to orders extremely well, he is incredibly combat intelligent, and he still has like the same things that all the Saiyans have, where they're addicted to combat and a little bit psychotic. But at the end of the day, Vegeta was psychotic, and he was able to redeem himself. I think it's Nappa's like what is it, like psychosis or whatever it's called, comes literally just from the fact that he was raised that way. Essentially, that doesn't mean he couldn't change. That doesn't mean he couldn't become a better warrior. I honestly think this is how it would the interaction with Nappa would go. 100%. This is what I think. I think it would go. They resurrect Nappa to be the first example. Vegeta walks up to him and is like, "Hey Nappa, you've been dead a while. Yeah, we live peacefully now on Earth." And Nappa would be like, "Why?" And Vegeta would be like, "Well, I've gained unmeasurable strength since then, to the point where I'm fighting gods." And Nappa would be like, I don't believe you. And then he would go like Super Saiyan 2, because personally, if I was them, I would never go Super Saiyan God around them unless I trusted them. Because we already know if they go Super Saiyan God or Super Saiyan Blue, you can kind of linger off of that feeling if you like truly desire to unlock that power as well. And instantly, Nappa would be like, "All right, Vegeta," and then that'd be it. And every time Nappa had like that craving for combat, he would probably just like go fight Goku or go fight Vegeta or something of that sort, basically. And that would be it. And it might sound crazy because we do see Nappa a lot in the beginning. He is a very psychotic. He's going to cities. He's blowing them up. He's blowing up, uh, you know, battleships. He's doing all this crazy stuff. But he's also one of the things that people don't realize is he's doing it under the pretext that Prince Vegeta, which is the person he primarily looks up to, is kind of being like, "It's okay, Nappa, go ahead." So what if Vegeta, didn't say that to him? What if Vegeta's like, "No, sit still"? He probably would have sat still. We probably would have gotten 40 minutes of him complaining instead of blowing stuff up, but he probably would have sat still because Nappa is, from what we learned very quickly, is he's incredibly loyal and he's incredibly intelligent too. He understands uh, that he is beatable, and he also understands that like there's a hierarchy, and that power at the end of the day kind of rules over all. One of the reasons he almost gets slammed, if you guys don't remember, is when he first almost eats Krillin's Destructo Disc, because he's like, "Oh, well, they've thrown weak stuff so far," so he just takes it. Because one of the things that we also learned in the first arc is Saiyans, even though they have immense power levels greater than 99% of Earthlings, they don't have the power to sense ki at all. They're just there. They're like, "Oh yeah, well, our detectors do it for us," and this is where it comes kind of back to full circle, where even though very intelligent, still very dumb at the end of the day. Like they're just barely surviving. And I guarantee you, if we take like Nappa, Vegeta, and Raditz as the three primary examples of the Sand race of upper class, or sorry, basically upper class, and then high class, and then low class, and we just take that into consideration, most, if not all of them, could be resurrected because Vegeta could literally resurrect all of them. He could pull up him and Goku, and they just lay down the law. I'm not saying they would want to rule like kings. They wouldn't want to rule like kings. Just realistically, maybe Vegeta might want to, but Goku definitely just wouldn't. And a big thing with this is I think they would genuinely pull up and be like, "All right, here's the deal. We resurrected you. You see that guy right there? His name is Kakarot. I know you guys don't like him, aka Goku. Yeah, he beat Frieza. Yet instantly every single Saiyan on the planet would be like, "He beat Frieza? What? What do you mean he beat Frieza?" And then following this up, almost instantly, they would ask for proof, obviously. Goku would go, I would say, go Super Saiyan 3. Just straight up go Super Saiyan 3 just to like ball out and show them kind of the max under the max, I guess. And just be like, anybody who thinks they can be him or me, step up right now, and you just let the Saiyans go at it. You let them fight like it's a tournament, and then at the end of it, when they're all beat, black and blue, and and Goku and Vegeta kind of just end up, I don't know, returning to their normal forms because they don't even need to go Super Saiyan 3. Yeah, most Saiyans would be like, all right, show us how to be, show us how to get strong, show us, what's going on. It and it sounds crazy at the end of the day. I know it does. There is some Saiyans that we learn about throughout like the history of Dragon Ball Z that are just terrible, terrible, terrible people. Just don't resurrect them. If it's that big of a deal, don't resurrect those two people. But if they did just say, "Hey, resurrect Planet Vegeta and everybody on it," I have a good feeling that most of the Saiyans would become like Galactorian protectors because they would get 10 times the amount of combat against people that are 10 times stronger than them, and they would still get paid. They would probably actually get paid more from what we see, right? Like when Vegeta and Goku actually save the planet, they get paid, or they don't, but Mr. Satan gets paid a lot of money. And there's a couple times where he tries to give it to him, but obviously Vegeta doesn't need it because his wife is a multi-billionaire and Goku just doesn't want it because he's Goku. So, like, they learn very quickly that by actually advancing their race and protecting the galaxy over destroying it would not only give them more combat, would also give them more money, and they could become so advanced. So, like, I guarantee you that the planet would almost like start holding tournaments for people unlocking Super Saiyan powers. Essentially, it'd be like I got Super Saiyan 1, let's go, and people would be like hyped because you guys have to think most people when it comes to like Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, especially going into Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue, there's physically no way they would get there. Like Vegeta barely got to Super Saiyan 2 and he will probably never get Super Saiyan 3. I know I think people said that there is like a Super Saiyan 3 in Daima. I haven't watched Daima yet, but I also if I remember correctly, that's not canon. So, it is what it is. But yeah, this is just my rant today. I know it was a little long, but in general, I think that I think it'd just be so so cool. It adds such a different arc in, very similar to like what we see in the Broly movies, but like make it canon. Because that's one thing with the Broly movies that always irritates me is Broly is such a cool character, such well written, but they just are like, oh, not canon. Well, why isn't he canon? Because then we would have to admit that there's someone stronger than Goku. Gosh. Oh, or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and let me know what your guys' thoughts are on them bringing back all stands. Like, do you agree, or do you think maybe I'm just blowing smoke? I guess. But have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace.